It's time for game one of the NBA Finals and some dad jokes. Let's talk some basketball. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back in to another episode for Just a Bet Outside. I am your host, Steven, and it is time after a week off to talk some NBA basketball game one between the Mavericks and the Celtics. So, before we get into all that, we got a lot to get into today, even though it's just one game. Quick heads up, there will be no baseball video for Thursday. Right before we hit go, we just heard about a death in the family on Ryan's side. He said he's going to tough it out since we're already doing this video. But we're not going to do that second video till 1 a.m. or anything tonight. He's got a lot going on. So, anyways, just want to let you guys know of that. But I will still release MLB bets and all the info and stuff on the community tab on YouTube, on Discord, and on X. So, that's what we got. It's a tough transition, but we got to do it. So, we got dad jokes. It's the finals dad jokes, which means I'm going to give you two. It's been too long. Let's see if we get some good ones here. First one. Every morning I get hit by the same bicycle. It's a vicious cycle. Maybe? Decent? Okay, here we go. Second one. I found out my wife is cheating on me. She said, I'll be home in 10 to 15 minutes max. I said, my name's Steven. That's not bad either, guys. Anyways, leave a comment. Let me know what you guys like the best. But in this video, it's a little different because we're not just going to recap the last game we bet a week ago. We're going to recap those mid-season futures that we gave out because they're all done now. We can talk about it. So, and then we're going to go over some good matchups like we do on game one of every playoff series. And then we're going to preview game one and the series in general and give you our best bets. I'm going to have two best bets for you and two leans. So I'm ready to get into it. Of course, we're going to wrap it up with the bets recap. But hit that like button, leave a comment below. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button as we have had one heck of a NBA season. It's been so much fun. And when I say it's been a great season, I mean we've had a ton of fun talking basketball, going back and forth with you guys. And it's been quite the journey. So let's finish it off strong with the NBA Finals. But let's start the video out with the recap. All right, let's go over the recap. We got our two bets to go over game five. We're not going to talk detail. And then the futures recap. We went 1-1 like we've been doing a lot in the playoffs lately. Luke over 29.5 points gets it done. And then Kyle Anderson, he hooked us. That's right. He just absolutely hooked us. He got 6 RAs. Both half unit, 1-1 is what it is. But the futures recap, baby, from that mid-season video. If you guys follow our mid-season videos in the MLB, we hit some big ones with Cy Young Award winners and stuff. And it was no different in the NBA. First, Jokic to win MVP, not great odds, minus 120, easy win there. Mavs to win the Southwest Division, we know they came back and won it, plus 170 for a winner. Mavs to win the Western Conference was the biggie, plus 1,400. Here we are, they get the job done. Hopefully you guys put more than a quarter unit on it, but and then Celtics Clippers finals was another sprinkle I had. That was terrible. Clippers are awful. 3-1 on the futures. We will take it. Our futures overall now, we already went over the preseason ones. We're now up 4.45 units to go with the up 7.19 for the season. I wanted more, but you know what? Right now we'll take up over 11 units. But in the playoffs, we're down 1.71. We got one more series to get in the positive, so let's have a great one. But that's the recap that we have from last game and the futures. And now let's talk some key stats. All right, because it's game one, we don't have any potential assists or rebound chances, but we're going to talk about the matchups. 3 players for each team. Luka Doncic over against the Celtics. Boston gave up the 13th most points to point guards. Luka, it doesn't really matter though. We all know he's matchup proof. But in the 2 games versus the Celtics, those are his numbers. 37 points in one game, 33 in the other. Triple-double in both games. Just want to point that out. And then Kyrie Irving versus Celtics. Boston actually gives up the 4th fewest points and the 2nd fewest assists to the shooting guard position. We know Kyrie plays some point guard too, but in 2 games versus Celtics, 19-4-2 and then 23-6-3. But he didn't shoot well. He shot 9 of 23 and 9 of 20 those games. So in the third one, Derek Lively for the Mavs. Boston gives up the 3rd fewest rebounds and about average for points given up to the center position. In the 2 games versus Celtics, 15-4-1, 6-8-1. Not a great 2 games. He played 23 and 25 minutes in those 2. So anyways, those are just 3 of the key players. I wasn't going to give you just every single player. It's just too much. But that's 3 for the Mavericks. Now let's move over to the Celtics. And we got Jason Tatum. How about Dallas giving up the 9th most points and the 10th most rebounds per game to the power forward position? In the 2 games he played versus the Mavs this season, 32-8-3. And then 39-11-5. The 39-11-5 was without Kristaps Porzingis, who looks like he is playing this first game. And then Jaylen Brown versus the Mavericks. Dallas gave up the 2nd fewest points per game to the shooting guard position, or to the small forward position, sorry. And in 2 games versus the Mavericks this season, 25, 7-5, and 34, 3-4. Not too shabby. Now, just something to keep in mind real quick. Mavericks made some trades. They changed how they play defense. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, but just want to point that out. Kristaps Porzingis, who is ready to go for Game 1. Dallas gave up the 4th most three-pointers made and the 12th most points to the center position this season. He only played 1 game, and in that 1 game, he scored 24, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists in 29 minutes. So those are some of the matchups and some numbers head-to-head and things like that. Obviously, season finals, it doesn't always equate, but hopefully it's just kind of something to help with your handicap and things like that. So those are the matchups. Now let's talk Game 1 of the NBA Finals. All right, this segment is brought to you by Better Bet. That's BTR Bet, the best place to find, track, analyze, and share your bets. Click that link below in the description. Use the promo code JABO. You get 30 days free. It's only for a limited time. This is a great website for those serious bettors that want to track their bets all season long, sync it to sports books, etc., etc. All right, this first game takes us out to Boston with the Celtics hosting the Dallas Mavericks. Celtics minus 6.5. Total in this game is 214.5. Let's preview the series real quick, and I'll give you one of my favorite series bets that I have before we get into our real best bets for Game 1. Celtics won the season series 2-0, 138-110, and 119-110 in those 2 games. It's worth a little, but not a ton with where we're at in the season now. Mavs are the second ever number 5 seed to make the finals. And here's another stat. The team with the better record, which is Celtics, are 18-6 in the finals this century. So they've won 75% of the finals. Just obviously, it's not a huge surprise. Obviously, if they had the better record, probably the better team. But let's talk matchups a little bit because I just want to talk some basketball before we just dive into each single game. Mavs have improved on defense. If you guys haven't noticed, it's a big reason why they're in the NBA Finals. A reason why they have improved, they've really learned how to protect the paint. They really pack it in. The problem with that is this matchup. The Celtics take fewer 2s in the league than anyone else. That's right. That means they rely heavily on the 3 ball. They take more than anybody else. Boston, in fact, is 58-6, including the playoffs this year, when they hit 35% or more of their 3 balls. So sometimes they can look ugly, and it's because they would go cold from 3. But they are one heck of a 3-point shooting team. Like I said, nobody shot or made more 3s than the Celtics. The Mavs are going to have to change how they play. It's not going to be like the good old Minnesota Timberwolves. This is a much different offense. I also don't know how they're going to contain Tatum and Brown. Derek Jones, PJ Washington. I think Maxi Kleber's coming back possibly, but not exactly elite stoppers. And of course, the Celtics have more than those 2 guys. But a difference maker who we have not seen yet this playoffs, Kristaps Porzingis. In my opinion, he makes a huge difference when you watch this team. First of all, he's going to be shooting 3s because that's what he does. He also is a good rebounder, which helps him out in the glass. But Derek Lively's not going to be able to just sit down there in the key. He's going to have to defend him. He's going to stretch the floor a little bit more. I mean, every single player is pretty much a threat from beyond the arc when Kristaps Porzingis is in. So we're going to see, are the Mavericks going to play small ball? What are they going to do? And then the Mavericks, when they are on offense, they were right behind the Celtics in 3s attempted this season. That's right. They were second, but they're about average shooting 3s. They were not anywhere near the level the Celtics were. So Celtics were the best defense in the league against corner 3s. 23.5% they held opponents to. So just want to keep that stat out there. There's some guys that rely on corner 3s. It's going to be a little tougher versus the Celtics defense. So I expect a lot of 3s. It is going to be a 3-point shooting contest, which might make these games a little wacky, a little hard to predict. But just want to point that out. So one of my favorite series bets that I have, I like the Celtics. Oh, let's just name 2. Celtics minus 1.5. I don't mind either. But this is one of my more favorite ones was Derek White to lead the series in 3s. This is plus 370. So I think he's the second favorite to do it, maybe third. But the big competition here is going to be Luka. But if Luka has a tougher time, this can be one of the harder defenses he plays because the Celtics don't just have one defender like Jaden McDaniels last series. They have multiple guys that they can throw on him. So he tied with Tatum last series as the Celtics 3s leader. So he's got to beat Tatum and got to beat Luka. Derek White, I think, is going to be forgotten in this series. I'm going to be honest because they have to worry about Porzingis when he's knocking him down. They have to worry about Tatum and Jaylen Brown, obviously, all the time. I think Derek White is going to go under the radar a little bit. So I think he has a chance, but at plus 370 odds to lead the series in made 3s. I mean, he takes a lot of them, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But that's a series bet. So that's the series. That's my series bet. But I'm ready to get into the bets for Game 1 now. I know you guys that aren't big basketball fans are like, can you just get on with it? But here we go. This first bet, give me the Celtics minus 6.5. I'm putting a full unit on it at minus 110. Celtics, like I talked about, they have Porzingis back. It's huge for them, and I'm not expecting him to play 30, 35 minutes his first game back, but I like what he brings to the team. Also, home favorites, by the way, in Game 1 of the NBA Finals. How about 17-4 against the spread in the last 21 games? So, it doesn't mean it's a lock or anything like that. Nothing is a lock, but I just want to point that out because I like me some trends. But I just think this number is too low. In the 3 Game 1s for the Celtics this postseason, they've covered this in 2 of the 3. Beat the Heat by 20, beat the Cavs by 25, beat the Pacers by 5. But let's be honest, they shouldn't have won that game. That was that wild overtime game. Um, but I think the Mavs, I think they're going to make some adjustments. They're going to have to, but I just don't know if they're going to be ready Game 1 for that. I think they're going to have to, they're going to be hit with something they haven't been hit for, like 5 guys out that can all knock down threes. It's going to be a lot tougher than facing a T-Wolves team that has Rudy Gobert just sitting in the paint and Anthony Edwards trying to do everything. So, also, if you go by the numbers, we just need the Celtics to shoot 35% from 3 because, like I said, they're 58-6. But that's straight up, obviously. We need them to cover the spread, too. The Mavs are just not a good three-point defense. Let's just face it. They're great protecting the paint. They're great at stopping penetration. Well, somewhat stopping penetration. They're at least great at stopping it when they get to the rim. But I just don't know how they're going to do it. I'm going to be honest. Celtics, on the other side, have multiple players to throw at Luka and Kyrie. I mean, you got Drew Holiday, you got Derek White, Tatum, Brown. I mean, there's so many guys that it's harder to find a mismatch when they do pick and rolls and things like that. And I don't think the Mavs role players are going to do that great here in Game 1 in Boston in the bright lights. The Celtics have been here before. This is not going to be anything new for them. I think they come out ready to play and get a decently easy win and win by 7 or more. Maybe the Mavs make some adjustments in Game 2, Game 3, and really figure it out. But as long as the Celtics don't go ice cold, I like them to cruise here. So, also, side note, DraftKings has a bet for the Celtics to win Game 1 and win the series at minus 130. So, all you got to do is win the Game 1 straight up and win the series, and you get minus 130. I just thought that was interesting. I wouldn't mind that at all. So, now, bet number 2. I'm going to throw a half unit on this because player props could get weird. We got to see how it plays out. It's Game 1. We'll see where all the strategies are and everything, but give me Drew Holiday over 4.5 assists at minus 128 on FanDuel for a half unit. Yes, it's a little juicy, but Holiday's averaged around 8 potential assists per game this postseason. But I like this matchup. I think they're gonna let him just kind of run around the court, just finding guys. I'm gonna be honest. Drew Holiday is not gonna be their focus whatsoever. And as you all know, Drew Holiday is one of the smarter players out there on the court. But I expect Luka to be on him a decent amount of time because I mean you're not gonna put Luka on Tatum or Brown or any of those kind of guys. So I think he's going to be able to get to the rim and get a lot of kickouts. And like I said, the Mavs are not exactly known for defending the perimeter very well. I think there's going to be a lot of 3-ball looks, a lot of easy looks that's going to rack up some assists. And if you ever seen Drew Holiday in the transition, it's pretty legit. We saw in the Indiana series where he had 2 games where he had quite a bit of assists. I think it was 10 and 7 or 8 if I remember right. But in the 2 games versus the Mavs this season, Drew Holiday 6 dimes and 7 dimes. So we expect huge minutes. I mean, they need him on the court to defend Luka, to defend Kyrie. He's going to play huge minutes. He's probably going to play at least 35 minutes in this game. He was over this line in 11 of 18 games when he played 35 or more minutes. 3 of those 7 misses, he was right on the hook at 4. So I just think the volume's going to be there. I think against this matchup, I think as long as his teammates can knock down some threes, and when they get in transition, I think Holiday can get 5+ assists in this one. That's why it's juiced to that over because I think the books know he will. I haven't seen it move to 5.5, but I wouldn't probably take it at 5.5, just so you know. But that's my second best bet. That is a half unit to go with my 1 unit play for the Celtics minus 6.5. And now let's talk a couple leans. All right, I got 2 leads I want to talk about. I may add one of these. We will see, but I just want to give you guys many options and much info as possible. So the first one, Derek Lively, not related to Ben Lively or Blake Lively, but under 7.5 rebounds at minus 135. Yes, this is juicy. I think I just saw a book move down to 6.5 as well. I don't mind that, but I'd prefer 7.5 for sure. But Lively's going to have a different type of series. We just talked about it a little bit before. He's not going to camp in the paint all the time. He's going to have to defend Kristaps Porzingis, and there's just 3 balls everywhere in general. So I don't think he's going to have as many opportunities. On top of that, the Celtics do not allow a lot of rebounds, like we talked about. The 3rd fewest rebounds to the center position. My worry on this one is maybe Zinger doesn't play a ton. Maybe he just plays like 10, 15 minutes, but I doubt it. I think he's ready to go. I think he's going to play a decent amount. Which is going to make him get stretched out. So a blowout is always something that's a possibility as well. But this is going to be a totally different matchup than he's seen versus OKC versus Minnesota. Yes, Minnesota has some decent rebounders, but he had a lot of chances too because he had zero worry about going out to the 3-point line. So I think that's going to make a difference. So I like the under 7.5 rebounds. That's probably why it's moved to 6.5. But that's one lean. Second lean, we already talked about it. Derek White. I like him to lead the league in or series. Well, I also like the odds for that. But in threes, I like Derek White over 2.5 threes. Is minus 130. He has 8+ 3-pointer attempted in 11 of the 14 playoff games. He's been over this line in 8 of those 11. So in those 11 games, he has attempted 8 or more threes. He has gone over this in 8 of those 11. I don't know if I made sense. I think I confused myself, but hopefully that made sense. But I just don't think the Mavs focus their attention on him. I think he's going to have some open looks because when it's Tatum or Brown or Porzingis out there, you're not going to see them running to Derek White. They're going to run to them when they have a chance. So with his volume, all we need is like a 3 for 8, 3 for 9, maybe 3 for 10 shooting night for him to get there at home where he shoots the ball well. Hopefully there's no rust or anything. Just need him to knock down some shots. So I like Derek White over 2.5 threes. Derek Lively under 7.5 rebounds. I just realized I just did 2 Dereks. But anyways, those are my leans. Those are my best bets. The preview, the series bet, the matchups, everything we need for this series and game 1. Make sure to leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys are rolling with today. Now let's check out the recap. All right, there we go. We got 2 best bets. Celtics minus 6.5 at minus 110, and then Drew Holiday over 4.5 assists. That second one is a half unit play. Let's start it out right. Let's get some winners. I know you NBA fans are excited. I'm excited as well to watch some more basketball. So if you haven't already, hit that like button. I appreciate all the support during the entire NBA season. Just another reminder, in case you fast forwarded, we do not have an MLB video for you for Thursday, but I will still be dropping my best bets and all that analysis. So thanks again for watching. I appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.